Okay, let's talk about New Port Richey, Florida. You see this area on the map. When you look it up, it just shows a little downtown area. The rest of it is all unincorporated. We'll get into that. But let's talk about the worst things about New Port Richey, and also why we chose to move there. Okay, but while I'm shooting this video, we're gonna do a little review of the Thermacell mosquito repellent. I'm not sure if you guys have seen these things. You know, they're like a little, this one's battery powered thing that burns something, and we're gonna figure it out. So you like pull this cover off, and then you put this like cartridge in here. I don't know what kind of chemicals it emits. This is filled with liquid. I think it's like butane or something. Doesn't smell like anything. So you just drop this thing in here, and you put the lid back on. Does it have any battery power? So this one's rechargeable, so you just like plug it into the wall. It's kind of cool. I'm mostly setting this up because I want to go back into the yard and shoot some of this video. So the trees back there are so pretty. But I get bit by bugs so much when I'm back there. Okay, it's warming up. So the lights kind of dance around like this while it's warming up, and then when they're solid, it means it's ready to go. Well, I promise we're gonna talk about New Port Richey. And I wanna talk about New Port Richey more because based on the search traffic, I can tell you guys are interested in it. It's driving quite a bit of views lately, and I wanna share some more about it. So before we get into the worst things, let's talk about why we moved out here. So my family and I, me and my wife, my 2 kids, we have a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. Mostly why we wanted to move is so that we could have more space. We bought this house that's on an acre. It's a 4-bedroom house with a pool on an acre. That's what we wanted. You can find some of that in Pinellas County, but it's like crazy expensive because Pinellas County is really densely populated, so you just don't have property like this. And it's closer to the beaches, closer to more like big towns and things like that. We decided to come up this way because we like the vibe of this area. So, ready to go. Let's go out there. All right, I'm gonna get out here in the shade and continue with why we moved to New Port Richey. All right, so I'm just gonna put this thing down on my feet and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we wanted space around the house. This is our backyard, full. Maybe I'll do a little house tour someday to show you what it's like. Or I'll just incorporate it in videos from time to time. We wanted space around the house, but I also wanted space around the area. So I grew up in a really small town. You can see, like, this is the actual town I grew up in. You can see some of the shots here. I was there recently, so I took a chance to get a few shots. When I reference it, I can show it. You see this pond here? This is actually in my backyard. We had 22 acres in our backyard, and it was dreamy. So I want some of that for my kids, but I also want some of that for myself. So not just the space around the house, but then when you're driving to the store, just some more open space. And I mean, across the street, there's a Winn-Dixie, and then down, you know, a 1/4 mile, there's Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Home Depot, Lowe's, all that kind of stuff. So we're not like out in the middle of nowhere. It's still just like suburbs, kind of a access to stuff. So I can see some like little vapor coming out of this. I haven't gotten bit yet, which is a big deal. So overall, Pasco County up here, as I compared to Pinellas County previously, Pinellas County has about 1 million people and is the most densely populated county in the whole state. Pasco County is geographically bigger and has half the amount of people. Yeah, population's growing in this area as they're building these new master plan communities, as they're building all kinds of new housing. But still, there's just quite a bit more space in between everything. And last point about why we moved, up here there's more affordable homes, but then also way more affordable insurance. Our insurance at our other house that was really close to the water was like $7,200 a year. Our insurance here is $1,900 a year. Bigger property, bigger house, swimming pool. Like, it seems like it would be more here than it actually is. Now, some of the reasons that it's not very expensive here are there's hurricane clips on the trusses. There's anchors for, coverage on the windows for boards to go like be screwed against the wall if there is a storm. There's not any trees directly over the house, and it's a concrete block house. So there are reasons why it is more affordable. But I started out this video by telling you we're gonna talk about the worst things in New Port Richey, and here they are. Number 1 is Highway US 19. This highway on the west side of New Port Richey that runs north and south packed with commuters pretty much all the time. 3 to 4 lanes on each side, a lot of traffic lights, so people speed up to 60 and then have to slow down all of a sudden and stop. And this is the main north-south highway in this county, so there's not many other ways to get around. People use it to commute up and back and forth because there's just a lot of commerce and housing in this area, so people are kind of moving all around. There are some sections of US 19, as I previously stated, that are actually very dangerous too, not just in your car, but there's a few sections where people are often walking across this highway. One of the sections is the most dangerous in Florida, in the US, for a pedestrian, which is super confusing. It's because there's just not enough crosswalks. And on one side, it's like a really nice golf resort, Innisbrook, and then on the other side, it's like a little bit of like shopping and then a lake. So I don't even know, it doesn't really even make sense why people are crossing there so much, but that is the dangerous part for pedestrians. Okay, the second worst thing about Newport Richey is reputation. So around the area, people kind of talk about this area as if it's like junky or full of hicks or something like that. And I grew up in such a conservative small town that this just feels like a big suburb to me. So I don't quite relate with it or get it. But compared to Pinellas County, this is quite a bit more small town vibe and quite a bit more conservative too. But something that really tarnished the reputation of this area was actually appearing on Cops, the show, the reality show, a few times, and then appearing on Live PD more recently. I think the sheriff just wanted attention. I don't know, I don't get it. Every town has some crime, and it's not like Newport Richey is like devoid of that. But as with most areas, you kind of know where it happens and how to avoid it. Okay, number 3 worst thing. I actually like this part. I'm putting it on here because a lot of people dislike it. It's quite a bit more rural up here. Now, as I said, there's all that kind of access just down the road from us, but you do get stretches where it just feels more rural, and you have more feed stores, and you have more livestock, and you have more trucks, and everybody has bigger yards, and it's just a different vibe, that kind of thing. Now, there's not just like Confederate flags everywhere. I've seen plenty of Confederate flags since I moved to Tampa. I haven't seen any since I've lived in Newport Richey for a week, so I'm sure I'll see some. I'll let you know. Okay, number 4 worst thing, older homes and or CDD fees. So you can either have an older home, like me, 1986, which my other one was 20 years older, 25 years older, so that seems new to me. Or you can have CDD fees, like in a new community. And those are super expensive. So CDD fees are likely going to be, $2,000 to $3,000 additional property taxes every year that you're paying in, and that might expire in 30 years or might not. So you can either have one or the other, older houses or CDD fees. And then that's kind of a negative. I mean, you just can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Okay, next negative thing about Newport Richey is the area is kind of hard to understand. As I said, when you look it up, it shows you this one little part around downtown, US 19 kind of being on one side, and kind of this old downtown being the center of it, and that is the incorporated part of Newport Richey. There's 3 other zip codes that are unincorporated. One of those being like along the water with a lot of waterfront homes. Gulf Harbors is like a really big community of waterfront homes. You see that drone shot here. Another one being Trinity, which is a more like master planned kind of community vibe that has really good schools. And then the rest of it being this like northeast side, like near River Ridge. This is the area that we live in. This area borders that new community that's going in Land O'Lakes, Angeline. And then as you go further south, this area borders Odessa by Highway 54 and kind of where Starkey Ranch starts. So it's a confusing area. People look at this area like it's kind of small. So Newport Richey proper, the incorporated area, is just a small portion of the population. The entire area is about 150,000 people. Okay, the 6th worst thing about this area is construction. So you've got new developments going in constantly all the way out into like Dade City, Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, Odessa, Newport Richey. All these areas across Pasco County have tons of new development. And then Newport Richey has a few new neighborhoods too, but this in the county just impacts every area. So you have new infrastructure constantly, new traffic constantly, new roads being paved, new schools being built. All of that isn't like perfect yet. I'm not saying it ever will be perfect, but it's maybe getting closer. Okay, and then the 7th worst thing about Newport Richey is the schools aren't great yet. But I think they'll get a lot better. I think in 10 years, the schools in this area will be very different, specifically in all of Pasco County, not just Newport Richey. So in Newport Richey right now, if people want good schools, they're typically focusing on Trinity. Trinity has pretty good schools compared to the rest of the area. And then as you go further east, some of the schools are becoming more specific or unique or interesting, and that's kind of a whole different thing on the east side of Pasco County. But I think overall the schools here in Newport Richey are going to get so much better over the next 10 years, but they're not there yet. I haven't got one bug bite yet. Typically I would get, you're going to think I'm exaggerating, but typically I would get about 10 bug bites standing out here for 20 minutes, and I didn't get any. So Thermacell, I'm pretty excited about having this actually. I might get like a bunch of them and just have them always like plugged in, ready to go. But as always, we would love to hear from you and help you process whether or not this area is right for you. Or if it's a different area. We sell houses all over the Tampa area, really the far-reaching corners of the whole area. And we would love to connect with you. So call, text, or email anytime. And thanks for coming by.